Starting this Hangout on Air is live.
I'm going to go ahead and put the recording on. And
this conference is being recorded. Q&A session started.
hello and welcome to the Law of Attraction Club. I'm Mary Beth, and we're on the web at theloiclub.com. On these hangouts, we collaborate with our friends Tara. This hangout is the summary of our theme for the week and continues after the hangout with questions and answers on our member conference call. You can get invites to our open calls, which we offer about once a month, and our free letting go process by going to theloiclub.com. So now we will begin by welcoming Robin and Tara.
Welcome to our discussion on this topic for the week, the importance of feeling bad. It's particularly poignant for this one who recently indulged himself with a bit of wallowing. We'll talk more of wallowing shortly. And no, we haven't flipped out. And yes, we're certainly always going on at great length about the importance of feeling good. That hasn't changed. Nothing is more important. But let's explore this concept of feeling bad as a potential avenue to creating more of what you want. We'll start with some simple statements here and then expand on them. 1. You and your worlds, physical and spiritual, are illusions. 2. Being illusory doesn't mean trivial or irrelevant. 3. If you're having an experience, you're creating it. 4. Life isn't serious. 5. When you're trying hard, you're going backwards. 6. You can't avoid feeling bad. So, number 1, you and your worlds, physical and spiritual, are illusions. Your consciousness, an intelligent awareness, an extension of the source of everything. Your intentions and desires create the shape of the conscious you. Like source, you are timeless and spaceless, but it is the chosen beliefs and expectations of that conscious you that create the illusion of a physical you in a physical space-time world. And also for many of you, the illusion of a spiritual you in a spiritual world. These illusions are your play space. They are the set of the movie called Your Life. For as long as there's a you, you're creating yourself in some shape or other and the matching realms around you. Number 2, being illusory doesn't mean trivial or irrelevant. When we say your world is illusory, we mean there's nothing about it that's permanent or external to you. It's not a committee decision because it's not created or maintained by anyone or anything but you. It's your holodeck, your virtual reality. But that's not in any way declaring that it's unimportant. This is your life. Your desires and intentions and choices brought you here. This is your main tent and you're continuing to choose it and form it. And like the individual frames that make up a movie, the forming of it is a moment-by-moment creation. It's the stage on which you're playing your game, having your experiences. And can you see from that, number 3, if you're having an experience, you're creating it. Unless you create it, there is no experience. You're not co-creating with others. You set up this stage of yours and others come to play on it at your invitation, intermittently, sometimes fleetingly, and sometimes indirectly. They play in your movie even as you play intermittently in theirs. We are here playing intermittently in your movie right now, even as you are playing in ours. The versions of us that show up and the versions of those others that show up match this version of your screenplay, even as the versions of you that show up in theirs match their screenplay. There are, of course, an infinity of different versions and stories, and all of them are equally valid and important. That's how it is we can promise you that your ability to create whatever you want is not at all constrained by the choices of others. If you can imagine something different, then that version of so-called reality is playing out in an equally valid and important parallel world. But to keep things simple, in this discussion, let's focus on the version you're inhabiting right now. This is your movie. This is where the conscious you is playing. This is where your power is. And discovering how to exercise that power is why we're dancing with you here. Number 4, life isn't serious. It seems that the more limited your perspective, the more seriously you take yourself. The further you get from recognizing who you are and being aware of why you're here, the more desperately important life seems to be. Well, it isn't. The truth is, there's nothing deadly serious about any of it. You came into it for the fun of being in this focused world and creating new things within it. And for those of you who insist that there has to be more to it than that there has to be some divine or lofty purpose behind it all, we say you ain't seen or felt lofty until you experience the power and the peace and the fun and the freedom of simply stepping into the awareness of the amazing creature that you are and following your desires. Number 5, when you're trying hard, you're going backwards. Thinking is what consciousnesses do. If your physical world is an illusion, can you see that it's all about what you think? And if life is meant to be fun, then trying hard, working hard, also cannot be an important part of the story. When you woke up this morning, how much time and effort did it take that superconscious of yours to create the world around you? 0. And because of that, you get the idea that you're not the one that's creating it. Well, you are creating it. And creating anything else you desire takes precisely the same amount of effort. 0. Creating is effortless. If you're lined up with what you want, if you expect success at all levels of your consciousness, no doing is required. Of course, you could be really busy. You could be doing many things and having the time of your life. That's downstream doing. That's going with the flow. That's living a life where things line up for you in magical ways. But if you're working hard, if you're doing things you don't want to do, things that are not fun at all, and you're doing them because you have to or because you should, you're going backwards. If you're not lined up with what you want, there's not enough doing on the planet to cause it to happen. Hard work is rowing upstream when everything you want is downstream. It makes no sense at all. Now, we're not proponents of jump and the parachute will appear. And we're not saying you should quit that job cold turkey, because that may feel even worse. We are saying, decide what you want. Practice the vision of being in that place, and the door will appear. Then with ease and grace, you simply open it and step through. Number 6, you can't avoid feeling bad. The simple truth is that moments of feeling bad are always going to be a part of your experience. There will always be contrast in your experience. There will always be things you want more of and things you want less of. This is the game you're involved in. Without contrast, there is no game. There is no adventure, no discovery, no new desires, and no new creation. And there is no you. So let's really understand this feeling bad stuff as a first step to some new patterns of behavior. We want you to see that it's entirely possible for you to begin to really appreciate your emotional guidance system, no matter what it's telling you. Let's start with the only thing your emotional guidance system is ever telling you is you're heading towards what you want, you feel good, or you're heading away from it, feeling bad. That's it. Feeling bad is never caused by people or circumstances. It's never caused by anything about you or your world. It's only ever telling you which direction you're heading. Now, of course, if you've defined this or that particular thing as bad, and you experience some of that, it's easy to start digging a hole for yourself. And once you've started on the hole, you feel worse. Things get worse. And it feels like your only option is to keep digging into despair and depression. The worse it gets, the worse it gets. Unless that you begin to think that it's possible that you can forever lock yourself into an ongoing downward spiral, into some sort of eternal hell, let us remind you here once again about the essence of who you are. You are an always connected extension of Source, and there is nothing negative or inherently bad in the energy of Source, and therefore there can be nothing negative or inherently bad in the energy of you. Well-being is the natural order of everything. Abraham has some good words on this in their let your cork float analogy. Imagine a cork floating on a body of water, and this cork is up there bobbing on the surface. And for the sake of our analogy, know that up here on the surface is this high, pure vibration. This is the vibration of your source. This is who you really are. Now take hold of that cork and hold it under the water as you focus upon something unwanted or you doubt, or as you doubt or disbelieve, or as you beat up on yourself or someone else. Now, as this cork is underwater because of your attention to something that's not up to speed with it, now let go of it. Take your attention from whatever has caused the cork to be under the water. And what happens to the cork when you let go of it? It bobs right back up to the surface. And the reason that we want very much for you to hear this important analogy is because we want you to know that this is where your vibration would naturally be if you were not giving your attention to something that was vibrationally different. We want you to understand you don't have to work hard at the higher vibration. You don't have to work at all the higher vibration. You only have to no longer give your attention to those things that hold your cork under the water. And then there will be times when you'll feel like responding to that idea with thoughts like, well, Tara or Abraham or whatever you call yourselves, you don't understand that when I'm feeling down, it doesn't feel possible to be logical about it like that. Sometimes when I'm down, I just can't think straight. Sometimes when I'm down, I feel like dropping into the hole, wallowing in self-pity, and just giving up on everything. We understand, because we've been with you through times like that. But here's what you can do. If you must wallow, do it consciously. Wallow away. But know that you're choosing to wallow. And if you do that, here's what you're going to find. You'll be acknowledging to yourself that even this wallowing is a choice. And even if at first it's just a vague thought in the back of your mind, what you'll discover is that you're beginning to acknowledge once again that everything is a choice. And therefore, this particular chapter in your story is the one you're creating. And then you'll find you're on a slippery slope. but it's a really good slippery slope, because once you start to acknowledge that, you start to pull out of it. It might take a while, but as you once again recognize consciously what's really going on, what you're doing is letting your cork bob to the surface. And then things get better. And the better they get, the easier it gets. And the easier it gets, the better it all gets. Do you get what we're saying here? There are bad slippery slopes and there are good slippery slopes. Let's ask you this question. How easily do you find yourself slipping back into reality mode, or where's my stuff mode, and seeing the world as the cause of your problems? Many of you would respond with, very easily. So then let's ask you this question. How easily do you find yourself able to pivot out of that reality mode and back into awareness, into knowing the world is exactly as you have created it to be? If you're honest, many of you would say, that's the hard part. And in those answers, can you see what you're creating? We've often said, not only is your desired destination, achieving that particular thing, yours to choose, but so is the journey. You can choose to see it as hard and beat your way through the underbrush, or you can choose to know that just over there, 10 yards to the right, is the yellow brick road. And you can go to the right and step onto that road and frolic your way to wherever you want to be. You see, you're creating the whole shooting match. And if you answered that second question with, that's the hard part, you're creating that life is always going to be a struggle. Well, phooey to that. You get to choose. So take a stand with yourself. There's a way you can set in motion right now in your day-to-day experience the appearance of the good kind of slippery slopes in your world. The discovery that there are yellow brick roads all over the place. Set yourself an intention right now that you will never again in this life see your feelings as anything but a signpost. That you will from this day forward appreciate your emotions as the gift that they are. And that you will henceforth discontinue the process of associating bad feelings from any cause, any event or person or anything. Here are some steps for a mantra. 1. Let me be aware. How am I feeling? Really feeling? How far short of fantastic? 2. Hey, wait, I'm feeling bad, or bored, or angry, or jealous, or frustrated. 3. What does that mean? I'm going in the wrong direction. 4. Who am I? The creator of everything I experience. 5. What am I about to create? What I don't want. 6. Let me climb mentally here and see the view. Get a true perspective. 7. To my emotional guidance system, thank you. Thank you, thank you. 8. Now let's bounce back to feeling good. Let's begin to entertain a new thought of what could be. You can develop the habit of being aware. You can develop the habit of seeing things from a higher perspective. You can bounce from oops to good. Each time you make this new choice, you step into a new version of you and a new version of your context, a new version of the world that matches the new you appears around you. Your habit becomes more and more, I feel bad, and now I feel good. Bad, then immediately, amazing, fantastic. Off course to back on course. So don't try to avoid feeling bad. By definition, you can't. Wallow if you want to, but know you're choosing to wallow. Just don't stay there. And stop blaming people or circumstances for those bad feelings. It's those associations that are the problem, not the circumstances. So when would be a good time to commit to this intention? How about today? How about right now? And now we welcome your comments and questions.
This hangout was a summary of our theme for the week. We do 3 live calls a week with question and answer sessions for our members on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. You can become a member by going to the loaclub.com/join. Our longer discussion continues now with Q&A on our member conference line.